My name's Katie. I'm 30 years old. I grew up in a small town and my family didn't have much money, but we had a lot of love. My mom worked as a janitor and she taught me the value of hard work. She always said, "No job is too small if you do it with pride." I remember watching her come home tired, but never without a smile. She always made time to help me with my homework and cook us dinner. Our house was small but cozy. My mom made sure I focused on my studies. She wanted me to have a better life than she did. She would say, "Education is your ticket to a brighter future." In school, I worked hard and got good grades. I loved reading and writing. My teachers noticed and encouraged me to keep pushing myself. In high school, I joined the debate team and the student council. I even worked part-time at the local grocery store to help out at home. When it was time for college, I was determined to go. I applied for scholarships and got accepted into a good university. It was a big change moving to the city, but I was excited. I studied law because I wanted to help people and make a difference. My mom was so proud when I graduated. I wanted to make the best of my college years, so I signed up for a few clubs along with a few extra classes. Keeping myself busy was the only way for me to cope with being so far away from my family. I first met Joe when we were both volunteering at a community event in our hometown. I was in my first year of university and I was volunteering as part of my club activity. Joe was there and I noticed him right away. I mean, he was tall, had a warm smile and a twinkle in his eyes. Who wouldn't notice him immediately? We started talking during a break and I found out he was studying finance at a nearby university. He was easy to talk to. We laughed a lot that day. After that event, we kept bumping into each other around town. And one day he asked me out for coffee. I was nervous but excited. We spent hours talking that day, sharing our dreams and goals. Joe told me about his family and how he wanted to make a difference in the world through his work in finance. I talked about my mom and how she inspired me to study law. Joe also told me about his younger brother, Mark, who meant the absolute world to him. Mark was 3 years younger than Joe, but the two of them were thick as thieves. Before Joe could introduce me to his parents, he wanted to introduce me to Mark. We met at a diner for lunch. Mark was different from Joe in some ways, but had the same kindness and warmth. He was more laid back and a creative spirit that shone through in everything he did. We started talking easily, and soon we were engrossed in a conversation about books and art, two things we both loved. Mark also showed me sketches from his art classes, and I told him about my dream of becoming a lawyer. Mark listened attentively, asking questions and offering encouragement. It felt like we had known each other for much longer than just a few hours. By the end of the lunch, Joe was playfully annoyed at us for making him third wheel Mark and me. No, but seriously, Mark was like the younger brother I never had. He looked up to me like I held all the answers of the universe, which was the same way he looked at Joe. Mark and I quickly became good friends afterwards. A few months after Joe introduced me to Mark, Mark told Joe and me that he wanted to introduce us to someone special to him. Mark had started seeing someone, and according to him, things were going really well and he saw a future with her. Mark wanted us to be the first to meet her, and Joe and I thought it was such a wonderful sentiment that we couldn't help but be a little excited to meet his girlfriend. When we got to the restaurant, Mark and Laura were already seated at their table. While Mark looked very nervous, Laura was the picture-perfect depiction of serenity. She was beautiful and well-dressed, looking every bit like she belonged in a fashion magazine. Laura seemed all right initially, but it didn't take long for me to notice that something was amiss. Laura would often glare at me in the middle of the dinner, or she would simply stare at me with a vacant expression. Eventually, she decided to talk to me, but only to ask a lot of questions. "So, Katie, Tell me about your family. What do your parents do? Well, it's just me and my mom, and she works really hard. Oh, what does she do? It must be something interesting. She's a janitor at the local school. She always taught me the importance of hard work. A janitor? Oh, that must be really hard. How do you even manage? I can't imagine growing up like that. It wasn't easy, but my mom always made sure I focused on my studies. She wanted me to have a better life. That's nice, I guess. My parents always made sure I had everything I needed. I never had to worry about money or anything like that. I mean, they even paid for my wedding at that fancy venue. That sounds really nice, Laura. My mom did her best with what we had. She taught me that no job is too small if you do it with pride. Oh, how wonderful. So did you have to help her a lot, cleaning toilets and mopping floors? Sometimes I helped out, but mostly she wanted me to focus on my studies. Well, I guess that's one way to look at it. I just can't imagine cleaning up after other people. It sounds depressing. But hey, at least you got out of that, right? Now you have a good job and everything. Yeah, I worked hard to get where I am. I wanted to make my mom proud. Oh, sure. I mean, it's great you're doing well now. I just don't know how you could stand living like that. My life has always been so different. I've always had the best of everything. My parents made sure of that. It's great that you've had those opportunities. Everyone's path is different. Yeah, I suppose. It must have been really tough for you. I can't imagine having to work while studying. I never have to worry about that. My parents made sure I could focus on enjoying life. It is challenging, but it's taught me a lot about responsibility and perseverance. Well, I guess it all worked out for you in the end, but still, cleaning. I don't think I could ever do that. I have so many better things to do with my time. It's great that you have other things to do with your time, but to each their own, am I right? Sure. I didn't know what to do or say about that interaction with Laura. Laura made the entire table awkward, but Joe managed to change things up and take things back to normal. Over time, it became clear that Laura didn't like me. She would make little remarks about my clothes, my job, or my family. When I got a promotion at work, she said, "Wow, I guess they needed someone to fill the spot." It was always something to put me down, but she did it in a way that others might not notice. Joe noticed Laura's behavior and tried to talk to Mark about it, but Mark would just brush it off, saying Laura was just being Laura. I tried to stay polite and not let her comments get to me, but it was hard. Regardless of Laura's attitude towards me, Joe's and my relationship continued to grow, and a few years after we were done with our education, Joe proposed to me on a quiet evening at our favorite spot in the park. I couldn't stop smiling as I said yes, feeling like the luckiest person in the world. We got married in a small ceremony surrounded by our families and closest friends. It was a simple but beautiful day filled with love and laughter. Laura and Mark got married about a year after Joe and I got married. Their wedding was extravagant, with a big ceremony and a reception at a fancy venue. Laura made sure everyone knew it was a grand affair full of expensive decorations and gourmet food. She wore a designer gown that probably cost more than my car. A year later, Laura gave birth to her son, Ethan. She made a big show of being a new mother, posting glamorous photos on social media and talking about how motherhood was her greatest accomplishment. She flaunted the fact that she had a child before me as if it somehow made her superior. I remember feeling happy for Mark because he was thrilled to be a father. He would show us pictures of Ethan and talk about how much he loved being a dad. Despite Laura's attitude towards me, I never let it affect my relationship with Mark. He was my friend and Joe's brother, and I cared about him deeply. Laura's behavior became more pronounced after Ethan was born. She would make comments about how easy it was for her to balance motherhood and her social life, implying that I wouldn't understand because I didn't have children. It was hurtful, but neither Joe nor I wanted children, so her jabs never hurt me. It just got annoying because she never stopped bringing it up. One afternoon, I was at home when I got a call from Laura, and she sounded unusually cheerful. Hi, Katie. How are you? Hi, Laura. I'm doing well, thanks. How about you? I'm great, actually. I'm calling because I'm hosting a housewarming party tonight, and I could really use your help. Can you come over in about an hour? I'm not sure. I have some things to do at home. I wasn't planning on going out today. Besides, why are you only calling me now about a housewarming party? Mark and I have been so busy with moving and with work that it slipped our minds to invite a few people, and you and Dave were one of them. I know that it's very obnoxious and rude of me to forget to invite you and then ask you to help me out, but come on, it'll be fun. I've seen how good you are at organizing things. You always have such a neat and tidy touch. I could really use someone like you to help me set up. Well, I don't know. It's just so last minute. I'm not sure what I could do to help. Please, I want everything to be perfect tonight, and I could use someone I trust to help me out. Plus, it'll give us a chance to spend some time together and maybe get to know each other better. I think we've gotten off on the wrong foot in the past, and I'd love to fix that. Well, when you put it that way, I guess I could help out a little bit. Great. Thank you so much, Katie. It means a lot to me. I promise it won't be too much work. Just a bit of setting up, and then you can enjoy the party too. Okay, I'll come over in about an hour. Perfect. I can't wait to see you. Thanks again, Katie. All right, see you soon. I was surprised. Laura had never asked for my help before, but I agreed, hoping this might be a chance to improve our relationship. I quickly got ready and headed over to her and Mark's new house. When I arrived, Laura greeted me at the door with a bright smile. Thanks for coming, Katie. Of course, that's what family's for. What do you need help with? Well, considering your mom is a filthy janitor, she must have taught you well. Clean up and leave. What? What in God's name are you implying here? I came here to help, not to be insulted. Oh, come on, Katie, I'm not insulting you. I really needed help with cleaning, and I thought you'd be perfect for the job. After all, cleaning must run in your family. My mom worked hard to provide for me. Her job is nothing to be ashamed of, nor is it something to make fun of. Sure, but right now I need this place spotless for the party, so why don't you get started? You know your way around a broom, don't you? What is wrong with you? I came here thinking you actually needed my help, not to be treated like this. Oh, poor Katie. If you're so proud of your mum's work, why not show us all how well you can clean? Unless you're not as good as her. Fine, I'll help. But not because of your insults. Because I don't want to tarnish my mother's name or show embarrassment for her profession. I do hope you know that you are the most disgusting person I have ever met in my life. That's the spirit. I don't care about what you think about me, as long as you get the work done. Now, start with the living room. It's a mess. And don't forget to dust the shelves. I want this place to be sparkling. All right. Good. Make sure you do a thorough job. I'll be checking. Her words stung. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger, but I didn't let it show. I took the broom and started cleaning. Laura watched me for a while and then went off to prepare for her guests. As I swept the floors and dusted the furniture, I was genuinely concerned for him, but he finally contacted me the next morning. He told me that he and Laura had gotten into a huge fight. He asked me if he could stay with Joe and me for a while, and of course I said he could. He told me that he would come over after work. Only an hour after Mark called me, I got a call from Laura. I barely managed to get a word out before Laura started yelling at me for ruining her life. How could you do this to me? You've ruined my life. Calm down. I didn't ruin your life. You made choices and now you have to face the consequences. Don't you dare talk to me about consequences. You had no right to go through my things and tell Mark. I didn't want to go through your things. You told me you wanted your house spotless, and I happened to stumble upon the DNA test results while doing that. Are you trying to be smart with me? Not really. I'm just stating the facts. Besides, I had every right to tell Mark the truth. He deserved to know what was really going on. God, is there any redeeming quality that you have? You had one job, and you failed at that miserably too. You've destroyed my marriage and my family. I came to help you only because you asked, even though you've always been mean to me. But then you insulted me and my mom. I saw those papers by accident, and I knew Mark needed to know the truth. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Just because you have your fancy law degree and your perfect husband. You had no right to get involved in my business. This isn't about me being perfect, Laura. It's about you lying and hurting people. Mark loves Ethan. Mark deserved to know the truth. You were hiding something that big, and it was wrong. You're just jealous of me. You've always been jealous of what I have. Jealous of you, Laura? I've never been jealous of you. You have always tried to put me down to make yourself feel better. The last thing I want is for my happiness to rely on someone else's suffering. Besides, this isn't about jealousy. This is about doing what's right. You've ruined everything. My friends, my family, they all hate me now. Can you blame them? They're disappointed because you lied to them. You need to take responsibility for your actions. You made these choices. I can't believe you're saying this. You're just as bad as everyone else. I'm not the one who cheated on her spouse. You did that. You need to think about how you treat people. You were so cruel to me, but I never did anything to you until now. This is your revenge, isn't it, for all the things I said to you? Maybe it is. Maybe it's time you learned that how you treat people matters. You can't just be mean and expect everyone to let it slide. If you keep treating people badly, you'll keep facing consequences like this. You think you're so high and mighty, but you're just a snitch. I'll never forgive you for this. That's your choice. But if you want to move forward, you need to take a good look at yourself and think twice about how you treat people. Otherwise, you'll keep regretting it. Get off your high horse, Katie. You're not perfect. I never said I was. But at least I tried to do what's right. Maybe you should start doing the same. This isn't over, Katie. I'll make you pay for this. Do whatever you need to do, Laura. But remember, your actions have consequences. It's time to grow up and face them. I couldn't believe just how blind and entitled Laura was. How could she not feel bad after she lied to, manipulated, and hurt Mark so badly? There was no remorse in her voice. All she could think about was herself and the repercussions she would face. Not once did she try to get me to talk to Mark for her. I felt so sad and angry for Mark. My heart ached for him. When Mark came over to our house in the evening, he looked exhausted and heartbroken. His eyes were red. He seemed like he hadn't slept. I could see the pain on his face, and it made my heart ache for him. Mark sat down and took a deep breath before he started talking. He told me everything he had learned about Laura's affair. Thank you for letting me stay here. I really needed to get away from everything at home. Of course, we're here for you. I'm so sorry you're going through this. How are you holding up? It's been rough. I feel betrayed and humiliated, but I need to tell you everything. You deserve to know what's been happening. What did you find out? Well, after you sent me that text about the DNA test, I felt my stomach drop. I was already suspicious of Laura because she had been acting weird for a while, but I didn't want to believe she was cheating. I decided to hire a private investigator to gather evidence. Oh? You did this before I told you about the DNA test? Yeah, only because I was super suspicious of Laura. She went off letting me use her phone and even letting me see her phone. And she changed all the passwords on her devices and basically stopped talking to me. I felt like I had no choice. And well, my worst fears came true. The investigator took photos of Laura and her personal trainer, Jake. They were together in a lot of places, being very affectionate. It was clear they were having an affair. Jake was someone I hired to help Laura get back in shape after she complained for months about how insecure she felt about her weight. I never thought she would betray me like this. Nobody thought that she was capable of doing something like that. But do you have any idea about how long her affair had been going on? For months, Katie. She even used my money to buy him gifts. That's disgusting of her. When did you find this out, though? I found out that she was cheating on me 2 days before the housewarming party. I was planning on silently filing for divorce, but then you texted with something even more disgusting, and I feel so stupid for not seeing it sooner. You're not stupid, Mark. She hid it well. You trusted her, and she broke that trust. Yeah, but I should have seen the signs. I had all the evidence, but I never thought for a single second that Laura would lie to me about Ethan. I'm sorry that I didn't pick up your or Joe's calls. I wasn't in the right space mentally. I remember just seeing red after I found the test results. I stayed in the room until all the guests had left and then just lashed out like crazy at Laura. I drove around all night and then went to work, and I guess I feel better enough to talk about it. I understand. You don't have to apologize for anything. I can't even begin to fathom what you've been feeling. I feel so devastated and furious. But I decided not to just quietly file for divorce. I want everyone to know what she did. She has always tried to show off and put others down to hide her insecurities. It's time everyone sees the real her. What's your plan now? I'm going to use the evidence to expose her. I've already started the process of filing for divorce, and I'm also suing her for fraud and emotional distress. It's not going to be easy, but I have to do it. Do everything you can to ensure your peace of mind, as long as it's legally okay, of course. Yes, I know. But I've been meaning to ask you about it. How did you find out about the DNA test, and how long did you know about the truth? Oh, I had no idea about the truth up until that evening. Laura had called me over to help her set up and then made me clean the house because she thought that was appropriate, considering my mother's profession. When I was cleaning, I noticed a drawer slightly open with some papers inside. I saw the test results and took photos with my phone. I knew I had to tell you. You deserve to know the truth. My God, Laura was horrible to you, always, wasn't she? I'm sorry I didn't say or do much whenever Laura was rude to you. I should have stood up for you more. It's okay, Mark. I understand you were in a difficult position, but I'm glad you know the truth now, and I hope this helps you move forward. It does, but thank you, Katie. If it weren't for you, I might still be in the dark. Also, I'm so grateful for you and Joe. You guys have been so patient and kind to me. I don't know what I would do without you both. There's no need to thank us. We're family. We'll get through this together. Over the next few days, Mark was pretty depressed. Laura didn't try to contact Mark at all, but she did text me multiple times a day to tell me how I'd messed up her life really bad. I blocked her and did not want to interact with her at all. However, one day I noticed Mark began spending a lot of time out of the house. He texted the family group chat and asked everybody to meet him at his house. He made sure to tag Laura in the text and tell her to be there as well. He also invited Laura's family and all their friends. He told everyone that he had a big announcement to make and didn't specify anything more. Joe and I tried our best to get more information out of Mark, but he kept his mouth shut. When the day came, everyone gathered at Mark's place in confusion. Everyone was wondering what the big announcement was, especially since we had all gathered there for almost half an hour without Mark having said anything. When Laura walked into the house from work, she looked surprised to see us there. That's when Mark stood up and told us that he had something to share with all of us. Mark revealed the DNA test results. He told everyone that Laura had been unfaithful, and the child he had loved and cared for was not his. There were gasps and shocked whispers as Laura sat there pale and trembling. Mark now showed the pictures collected by the private investigator to the stunned audience. He also revealed that Laura had used family funds to pay for lavish gifts for Jake, further deepening the betrayal. Laura tried to defend herself, but the evidence was overwhelming. Her friends and family looked at her with a mix of disappointment and disgust. Mark's dramatic revelation completely destroyed Laura's reputation. Mark then announced that he was filing for divorce and suing Laura for fraud and emotional distress. He also planned to sue Jake for alienation of affection. Laura's world came crashing down around her. She lost many of her friends who sided with Mark and couldn't believe she had lied about something so important. Her reputation was ruined and she found herself isolated. Even her own family was disappointed in her. Financially, Laura struggled without Mark's support. She had relied on his income and now had to find a way to support herself. She moved out of their beautiful home and into a small apartment. It was a huge adjustment for someone who had always lived in luxury. Mark faced a difficult decision regarding custody. Despite the betrayal, Mark knew he had formed a bond with Ethan and genuinely cared for the child. He wanted to protect Ethan's well-being while holding Laura accountable for her actions. Mark initially sought legal advice to understand his rights and responsibilities. He decided to file for divorce and requested primary custody of Ethan. This decision wasn't made out of spite towards Laura, but rather out of concern for Ethan's future. Mark wanted to ensure Ethan had stability and a loving environment despite the circumstances. During the custody negotiations, Mark remained firm and assertive. He demanded regular visitation rights and made it clear that he would prioritize Ethan's best interests above all else. Mark was tough on Laura regarding the legal proceedings, insisting on transparency and fairness. Despite the challenges, Mark maintained a compassionate approach towards Ethan. He spent quality time with him, reassuring Ethan of his love and support. Mark understood that Ethan was innocent in this situation and deserved a father figure who cared deeply for him. Throughout the process, Mark never badmouthed Laura in front of Ethan. He shielded Ethan from the complexities of the adult world and focused on providing a nurturing environment. Mark took on the responsibilities of fatherhood with integrity, demonstrating patience and understanding towards Ethan's emotions. As for Mark, he began to heal with the support of his family and friends. Joe and I were there for him, helping him move on and find peace. Our bond grew stronger through this ordeal, and we knew we had done the right thing.